So today I'm going to share a little bit about how I began my jewelry business, Lil in the Sky. This video is a little bit different from my usual video. This is actually going to be a bit of a story time, and I feel a little bit nervous, I don't know why, to share this story because it's also about how for many years I dealt with self-sabotage, and this is something that people wouldn't really know about me because obviously I'm not making my channel about self-sabotage. I'm talking more about how I was able to create a profitable jewelry business. But I have dealt with self-sabotage for a long time and still deal with it sometimes. And I decided to talk about this because I did have a beautiful artist who I usually chat to a lot in the comments section. And she asked me a little bit about self-sabotage, if I deal with self-sabotage, and sometimes for me it feels a bit like it's an old friend of mine, kind of like that song, "Hello Darkness, my old friend, hello self-sabotage, my old friend," and oh, that was really cringe, but anyways. Right. So growing up as a child, I had parents that had very traditional jobs. I grew up in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro. My family, they are either engineers, doctors, lawyers, or economists. Super successful, traditional family. And art was really not a thing. And I remember one time we went to our neighbor's art exhibition. She was an artist and quite well known in Rio de Janeiro. And I remember feeling so inspired and lit up by her art exhibition that I came home and started drawing all of these abstract art drawings because she was an abstract artist, and I told my dad I want to be an artist. And that's when I got the reality check. That's when he told me that art is not a job, it's actually a hobby, because artists, they starve. He actually said artists starve. I remember feeling a little bit disappointed by that, but as a child you still do your art, and I was the girl in school that was always drawing, always doodling, and I really was not a good student. I never really enjoyed listening to classes. I'm very much of a selective learner. The things that I am really interested in, I am completely obsessive about, and then that thing takes my full attention. I become a geek in the subjects that I am interested in. But if it's subjects that I'm not interested in, and especially if the teachers are not making an effort to make it interesting, then I'm not going to pay attention. I might even be staring at the teacher, but I'm not there. I'm somewhere else. So growing up, I always struggled with school, and having a family that was really traditional, where it was really important to be studious, where it was really important to achieve great things. It was very hard for me growing up. And I remember a few moments that I felt seen, that I felt as if I had something special, but they were not the moments, they were not the usual things that would make my parents, would make my dad especially proud of me, because it was in art that these moments would happen. So I used to carry around a poetry book that I would write poems in. And these poems, they were so special. My mom would read them, she loved them. And she would show it to other of her peers that were literature and English teachers. And they would say, this girl actually has something really, really good going on here. And I remember these poems, they would actually cause reactions. I made my grandmother cry with one of my poems, and she had one of the poems for years in her refrigerator. And these were the moments that I felt that there was something to me that was actually special. And then there was also a drama class. This was already now, fast forward to my teen years. And I don't know why, but this drama teacher, he put me in charge of writing the script, of writing a play for the class. And so I did an adaptation of A Midsummer's Night's Dream. And it was a really good adaptation. And again, that was the moment that I knew there was something to creating things, that to my artistic side, that my parents, they were really proud. And the script, the play was really well written for a 12 or 13-year-old. I don't remember exactly the age, but my early teens, preteens probably. And then when it was time to take my exams, because in Brazil you take your exams for university, I wanted to study filmmaking. And I remember that was a huge drama in my family, because it was also a reason of embarrassment, because I wanted to study filmmaking, and that nobody had ever done in my family, because everybody had always chosen traditional career paths. So I remember even an aunt telling my mom, oh, it's okay, maybe she'll give up and choose something else. Some people, they have to study something and then they will drop out of college or, graduate, and then they'll go to study something more serious. And so my parents, they were trying to push me towards communications instead of filmmaking, because communication was more safe. And what I'm sharing here about my parents, as a mother now, I can completely understand where they were coming from, because for them it was not safe to be an artist, because their idea, their model of the world is that artists, they starve. So my dad wanted me to go into economy and to becoming an economist like him, because he said to me one time, this is a way that I can help you, I can better guide you. So it was more my parents having this protector role towards me. Not that they were putting me down or anything, it was just really that they wanted to protect me. They really believed that they were protecting me by telling me not to do filmmaking and to not study art. And I can understand, I'm a mother myself now, and I do everything I can to protect my daughter. I am that mother like my parents were. We try to protect our children, we protect the ones we love, and sometimes in a way that we don't even know we're harming them, that we don't even realize that our children are not feeling seen or accepted, and that is going to become an issue for them. Nobody's perfect. We're not perfect beings. We make mistakes, all of us humans. And so I went to film school, and in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, and graduated. And I remember that it was during my screenwriting classes that people, they were always silent, and they wanted to hear more of my stories. Everybody would go completely silent, and after they would come to me, oh, let's make your movie, let's turn this into a movie. And it was always during my screenwriting classes. And I had this one teacher who was from Cuba, for one of the best Cuban filmmaking schools, that really believed in my screenwriting skills. So after I applied to the Academy of Art in San Francisco for screenwriting, and I actually received a scholarship for the first semester. And again, there was something there. There was always this little pattern in my life that when I created, these magical things would happen. When I would create something, when I would be myself, artistic, that's when I would shine. That's when things would happen that were good, and paths would open. So again, I was super proud of myself for getting that first semester off from just my writing skills, just from writing a screenplay. But then during my years there at the Academy of Art, I did write a lot of plays, but then I started this pattern of self-sabotage, which I wouldn't finish my projects or not take them seriously. And I had all these self-doubts. I had all of these not enough kinds of feelings, these feelings that I was not enough, that I think I was just terribly wounded as an artist. I didn't believe in myself. And So I self-sabotaged a lot. I didn't take my projects seriously and found myself later not finishing the Academy of Art and then getting these random jobs. I worked at the Brazilian consulate of San Francisco, and at that point my parents were super proud of me. They thought I made it. But then I left that because I was unhappy. Self-sabotage or not, I'm not sure, but I was really unhappy there. At my job sometimes I would find myself writing scripts and writing stuff. So it was many years of experimenting different jobs and fields, and I worked in a cruise ship. I traveled around. I traveled and lived in so many countries, and always searching for myself and for the next the career path where I would actually fit in, where I could actually be happy in, and nothing would bring me fulfillment. I would just go from job to job and quit, and this was a pattern. So fast forward a few years later, I went to London. I was living in London with one of my childhood friends and my ex at the time, and I decided to be very serious and study nutritional therapy. So I went to the University of Westminster for nutritional therapy, which is basically functional medicine nutrition. It's you study nutrition, but you also have these protocols of understanding what are the vitamin deficiencies that you have that can be leading to different symptoms, and it's really fascinating. I truly feel happy that I studied that and made some of my best friends in life at the University of Westminster. So at my last year of school, I was really struggling. I was getting these panic attacks. I was having eczema. I felt as if my skin was just oozing all the time with these red inflamed eczema patches. And that's when I started working with Brazilian shamanism, with ayahuasca, with plant medicine. And I came to understand through these conversations with my soul, with my higher self, that the path of studying nutrition, of trying to be normal in a world that isn't really normal at all, was actually, that was the self-sabotage. So the self-sabotage was me trying to be something different than what I truly was. Because my essence, it's something I've known since I was a child. I was always making stuff. I was always writing. I was making jewelry. I was drawing, and I was just very multi-talented in any kind of creative activity. Those were the moments that I would shine. And being known as the girl who drew really well in class, that was my identity. And the girl who could tell stories, the girl who wrote incredible essays and fiction and all of that, that's where I always was in my place. That's where I was being me. And at some point I decided to not be that. I decided to be something safe, something that was more accepted, and to have that acceptance from family, from peers, from the world. And yeah, so after that, I did not finish my nutrition degree. I was trying to integrate all of this information that I had received and that I knew was true. And I still self-sabotage. I still went into teaching English, but then I started writing a story that I had paused in my 20s. And it was a story that when I finished, all of a sudden, everything aligned, that it got published. It got published in Brazil. It got published right after in France. Things just started falling from the sky, into my lap, because I believe it was aligned. It was just me fulfilling my destiny. And I really believe in the monomyth that in the hero's journey or the heroine's journey, that we all have something, an adventure, and a gift to share with the world that when you are finally ready to listen to that call, the allies come, things start falling into place. So this has always been, for me, my experience when I decide to take that call. It's not easy, but it just starts falling into place. So I wrote my children's book, it got published, it sold. It didn't make me rich, but it sold well, and I was happy that finally this project had been completed. It was out in the world, it was touching people's hearts. I was doing readings in schools, and I was really proud of getting this story out, because this story was actually a message about being able to see things, to have the perspective, to see all of the things that are happening in the world. And when you're able to see everything that's happening in the world, you're able to actually change the world through your own actions. Right. Where was I? Okay, I found myself in another plant medicine ceremony. And in this ceremony, I remember that I actually saw myself as a content creator, and I was asking my soul to give me more detailed information of this vision of seeing myself as a content creator. And I remember the message I had is, there are things that you cannot plan, there are things that you shouldn't know right now, and just remember to ask for help. So that was my message. Just remember to ask for help and don't try to plan things, let life surprise you and be in joy. That was a big message. Stay in joy, because when you stay in joy, you're in the frequency where everything starts aligning and happening for you. So right after this ceremony, I remember I was with friends, and this friend who had a girlfriend who we really hit it off. We always had deep conversations. She was also very much into mysticism, such as myself. We both loved The Alchemist book by Paulo Coelho. And we were talking, and she asked me, "Oh, I remember you were making some jewelry. How did that go? How are you selling your jewelry?" And I remember telling her, "No, it doesn't sell very well." And she turned to me, "Oh, can I help you to make it sell? Can I help you to create a brand?" And when she said that, I had this somatic feeling all throughout my body. It was as if my body knew that that was the message, because that was exactly the message I had from Mother Ayahuasca was, can I accept help? And when she said, "Can I help you?" I just knew I had to say yes. Normally I would have said no, because I wouldn't want to impose. I wouldn't want her to, spend time away from her child, from, she was building her business to help me to start a business, to start a jewelry brand. But I said yes, and she just helped me so much and helped me to create my brand, Lila in the Sky. Again, another ally coming into my life and helping me. To this day, I call her my angel. She is an angel in my life. And so as soon as I began my jewelry brand, it's as if the path started appearing in front of me, and I was being guided to where to go. And I got into this huge chain shop that is all over Europe. And for me, that became one of my best income streams. And things were just happening effortlessly, as if I was finally saying yes to my destiny, and my guides and my soul, my higher self, God, were trying to tell me, this is your destiny, so don't sabotage it this time. You can make it happen. Sorry, the Hoover went on, and I kind of lost my train of thought here. But I just wanted to say that I do think that a lot of our self-sabotage as artists come from this place of not believing in yourself. And for me, at least, that has been the case, because every time I truly did believe in my art, that I truly did create from this place of joy, from my heart, that's when things would just align. That's when I was actually going to a place where I had never been safer. Creating this jewelry brand was the time that I was the safest in my income. I was actually making really good money through my jewelry brand, where when I was doing other kinds of gigs and jobs, I actually wasn't making a lot of money. So I truly believe that self-sabotage comes when we are going against our destiny, because if you think of it, we artists, we do have this wound, we do have this idea of being that art is not a safe career, and it isn't. It's a very scary, unsafe career to venture in. But then anything that you put your love and that you tend to and that you protect and that you work hard, you can make these things also become, you can accomplish things through the medium of art. And to be able to make it as an artist, you have to see yourself as an entrepreneur. You have to believe in your project. You have to invest in that project and tend to that project to make that little seed grow into a garden, like the farmer would do. You know, you would take care, put the fertilizer, and the farmer is doing his job, but he's also taking care of the business side of growing the plants. Because if not, you're just the same thing. You're just having beautiful plants as a hobby, but a farmer is doing that, putting in, tending to those plants and seeing them grow, seeing them prosper, because he's there every day and just tending to that plant, if that makes sense. Maybe this is not the best example, but I do think that the artist is the same thing. We have these little seeds within us that if we can just tend to these seeds, protect them and take care of them, then these seeds, they can grow into beautiful gardens, and we can have these beautiful fruits that are nourishing, that are gonna feed us. And so through this friend of mine, my jewelry hobby became a profitable jewelry business. And it was because finally I was tending to that seed. I was taking care of it. I was still doing my English classes at the time. So I was doing my jewelry business as a side hustle. I would do these English classes, and I would also do weekend art classes where I was teaching art classes to children and to adults in the evenings. So at one point, and it was in just a few months, I started making good money from my jewelry business, that I was able to work on that full time, because I saw the potential. I saw that it was giving me more than actually teaching the English classes that I was at the time, or the art classes. So it's my belief that the artist's self-sabotage is more to do with this inner conflict of wanting to fit in the safety of the outside world and having that need for validation from the outside world. Like I did, I needed that validation from my parents, from my family, and from the outside world. And because of that, I self-sabotaged many years where I could have been creating and just putting all of that focused energy into creating and making those creations, my art, my North Star, and to make it into that garden, to be able to see that seed grow. But that was my journey, and I believe that our journeys in life are exactly what we need to grow. It's exactly, everything is perfect. This is my vision, that we come here to experience certain things, to grow our souls, things that we were meant to experience. And for me, having this artist wound was this wound that I had to heal within myself, so that now I can help others. I'm actually coaching women at this moment on their creative businesses, because they are at the same place where I was. They want to do something. They want to be able to work from home and be with their children, but they don't believe in themselves yet, and they need that guidance that I am giving them, so that they can be able to live from their businesses, so that they can stay home and be with their children. And I know that because I've experienced all of that. So now I help others. So from that place of wounding, from that place of suffering this torment and this wound of being an artist with all of its torments, because we're quite hypersensitive people. We are quite anxious. Usually we have ADHD or ADD, and I have all of these things. And now I see that these were actually my gifts, because The reason that I can write things that make people cry, make people listen, is because of this hypersensitivity. The reason I have anxiety is because it does feel sometimes like my emotions, like everything is too much. And I put these into my art so that other people can feel these things that maybe they need the artist to be the catalyst to feel certain emotions that are uncomfortable, because we're the ones that are willing to feel it and to look at it and to turn it into a piece of art, or to write about it, or to talk about it. The self-expression part in the artist is so strong. For me, it is stronger than me. Sometimes I would like to just shut myself into a little cave, but this need to express myself and to be able to connect with others is stronger than me. Hence, I started this YouTube channel. And so this is my story. I know it's a little bit all over the place. I didn't have a script for this story. I am just talking to you from this place, from my heart, from my own experience, my own story. So yes, forgive me for it being all over the place and a little bit scattered. If you would like me to do more story times, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video. Ciao!